I'm Sarah Sinclair. I'm editor of Cannabis Health magazine and website. We're a UK publication focusing on cannabis and CBD for health and wellness and medical purposes. And I'm here to chat with James Percival, who will give us a little introduction about himself.
So yeah, thank you for taking the time to do the interview. A little introduction on myself is I was a professional rugby player for 16 years, having represented Harlequins, Worcester, Northampton Saints, and moving over to top 14 in France to play for Grenoble and to finish my career up in France as well. So I'm still currently living in France. The weather and the lifestyle's pretty good, so I decided to stay here with the family. But yeah, I've been a pro rugby player. I turned pro when I was 16 and had a lot of ups and downs, but I wouldn't change it for anything.
Perfect. Would you mind sort of telling us about some of those challenges that you've overcome and some of the injuries that you faced along the way?
Yeah, so I started my career, as I said before, at 16. I sort of turned professional within an academy structure, and I ended up representing England at under 21s level. And at the same time, I'd signed for Northampton Saints, and I was having a real good run of games, playing some pre-season friendlies, and they'd informed me that there was a possibility that the England selectors would be coming to watch me. So we were playing an away game at Munster, and I managed to break my neck. So I fractured my C4, C5, and at the time I didn't know I'd broken it. I was in the hospital, they x-rayed me, scanned me, and pretty much did everything, and they said there was nothing wrong with me and I was okay to go back. As I was about to leave the hospital, I completely collapsed, couldn't talk, couldn't do anything, my whole body shut down, and all I could do was move my eyes. It took about 8 people to lift me up, put me on a bed. They gave me a sandwich and a drink, and they said, no, you'll be okay to leave. And I said I couldn't walk, I had pain in my neck. They gave me a collar, and I had to fly back from Ireland in pain. Boys were playing bumper cars with me in a wheelchair because no one thought it was that serious. And the Saturday and Sunday I was at home, and then Monday I went for a scan, and I was told I broke my neck. I couldn't play rugby ever again. And the helicopter lifted me off to Oxford for a big surgery. And upon arrival at Oxford, I said that the biggest problem was I'd ruptured all the ligaments off the back of my spine as well. If they didn't heal, then the rugby would be finished. So that was a pretty big shock for me to start my career off and sort of set the standards for the rest of my career. I think I was adamant I'd play again. Worked really hard, trained really hard to get back bigger, faster, stronger. So that was sort of start. After that, I managed to break my ankle. I've managed to rupture my ACL in my knee, which is a pretty big injury. Do both my meniscus cartilage in my knees. Broke my hand, broke my thumb, ruptured my bicep, broke my nose, and then recently I've had to have a prosthetic disc put in my back, obviously because of an injury in my back. So yeah, I'm pretty much injured all over, apart from my shoulders, which have managed to stay the course.
Yeah, that is quite a journey. And at what point did you sort of discover CBD, and how did that sort of come into your life?
So yeah, CBD sort of came in the twilight of my career, really, towards the end, because at the start it was sort of it wasn't around, and more recently I was playing rugby and was playing alongside a South African lad who was using it, CBD, and he was in good shape. He was a real pro, and he sort of put me onto CBD and said, look, try using this. It can help with specific things for sports and that's sort of my introduction to it, and how my love of CBD sort of began.
And what difference has it made in your life and in your game as well since you started using it?
So yeah, I think since I've started using it, I think the biggest difference it's made is given me choice. And obviously, as we go on, you'll probably be more aware of how that works out. But I think the biggest thing for me in my life that it's given me is choice. So that would be my answer for now. But I know as we discuss, you'll probably question that. But as we discuss further, you'll probably make that more clear to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. What do you think it would have been like? Because obviously when you first sort of injured yourself a long time ago, CBD wasn't a thing. And what difference do you think that would have made if it it had been an option for you?
Yeah. So it's a hard one to say really, because I've never really been a person to look back and say what if. But during my career, obviously with the injuries and the problems I had, I used a lot of homeopathy. I used a lot of acupuncture. I brought the best equipment to help recovery. I looked into vitamins and minerals to help my recovery and to help my performance. But I think, as always, the easiest option to get back quicker or to sort of get rid of those pains was the medical route. And over the last few years, I've stopped taking painkillers and I've stopped taking anti-inflammatories and things like that, because there's a tendency in rugby to be over reliant on those. And I think if I'd had a product like CBD, and it would have been more accessible to me at that time when I had those injuries, then I think it would have given me that extra choice. And I think there's a big problem with there's a big problem within sports of the use of those anti-inflammatories and products. And I've always been more of the natural remedy person, but because that wasn't that option there, I didn't have it. And I think it would have been, I think if I'd been playing, it would have made a massive difference to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a little bit about the sort of culture. Do you feel there's a bit of a culture in rugby and other professional sports as well of relying on pharmaceutical drugs and paracetamol and things to sort of just get through the injuries and get back on the pitch?
Yeah. Well, speaking from my own experiences, I can't really speak for other people, but I know looking around teams from my experiences and seeing players in those teams, the competition in rugby now is getting bigger, and the stress on the bodies and for athletes is even greater, which is obviously leading to more pain and inflammation, and it's harder for the endocannabinoid system to handle. So adding CBD, I think adding CBD can help, but I think a big problem around the CBD is the awareness of the CBD. So people are more reliant on the medical drug side of things because it's the easier option and there's not as much stigma around it at the moment. And obviously, when I was playing rugby, there's times where I'd be taking a painkiller before every single game just for the sake of taking a painkiller, because I was always in pain or had a little niggle and I wanted to go into the game not feeling that niggle. And I think that's the problem. I think as a rugby player and as an athlete, you sort of tend to think you're invincible because you're fit, you're strong, you're performing at a high level, and taking these anti-inflammatories is just like taking a vitamin tablet. And I think that's a big problem. There's not that choice for other people, which I sort of touched on earlier. There's not a choice for anything else. If I am sore, if I am painful, what is it? It's like, okay, take an ibuprofen, take a naproxen, take an anti-inflammatory. And I wouldn't say I was addicted to it, but I think throughout your career, there was most nights where I was in pain or after a game, and I'd literally pop a pill, and a painkiller pill, as I would take a sweet or a vitamin, thinking it would help me. And over the time, it was becoming more and more where I'd be taking it, and even to the point where when we were playing rugby, that they had to put keys on the locker cupboards because the painkillers were going missing, because it was just seen as such a natural thing to do, to take the painkillers. So I think there's a massive thing in the game, a problem with it. But then at the same time, I think the problem is, why is it so okay to use painkillers and no stigma against painkillers, whereas something like CBD that is so natural, why is there such a stigma and a dark side to it? And that's the problem I have with it. And I think that's, touching on it again, that's where that choice needs to become available.
Yeah, how do you think we can sort of go about continuing to break down that stigma and making it a bit more accepted among athletes?
Yeah, I think it's a hard one. Obviously, as I said before, I've started using CBD towards the end of my career as a pain relief, and I know the sport's becoming more competitive. But I think the biggest fear for any sports person is that fear of drug testing. I know I used to get drug tested on a regular occasion, and I knew everything I was taking was clean and okay. But there's always that stress, there's always that risk that if I take something, it's my responsibility, and I could end up losing my career or not playing for a significant amount of time. And I think that's the biggest stigma within sports as an individual. But on top of that, I think there needs to be more recognition from the governing bodies, from the union representatives for sports people, to say, well, why can't we look more into CBD as an aid for athletes and sports people? If it's okay to use opioids and medical drugs all the time, why can't we look more into CBD as a natural remedy to help these players? And I think that's the biggest problem, because I think sports people want to take it, but there's that fear of that risk and it not being safe, as to say. But there's, with the THC levels or the production, you don't know how exactly, some online, if you buy how it's being produced and whether it's actually clear on the instructions that the THC is as it is, and that's where that sort of certification comes in. But I think the biggest thing is, as I said, is not the individuals. I think it's the bigger governing bodies, and I think that's where they need to start looking into it and looking into the interests of players and sports people, and actually take care of them, and realise that there is a problem with the anti-inflammatories, taking the medical side of things, and why not look into CBD? It's a lot less risk taking CBD than it is taking the medical supplements.
Yeah, and we know kind of people report that CBD helps sleep and it helps with injury and pain. And what are some of the ways that you feel, and you might have seen in your experience, that it can benefit athletes?
Yeah, so there's so many different benefits to it. Like, adding CBD can help the endocannabinoid system that we've spoken on about, finding that homeostasis, maintaining that sort of level in athletes. It can help relieve pain for us. When I take it, that's one of the big reasons for taking it. It can help the pain. Obviously, you take the medical side of drugs, anti-inflammatories, it can have a massive effect on your gut health. I remember one time I was had a knee injury, and I was due to play a game, and I said to the coaches, I said, I'm in too much pain, I can hardly run. And they said, well, don't worry about the warm-up, just go on a bike and play the game. So I ended up taking about 4 or 5 painkillers and a suppository to get through the game. And I said to them, I can't jump in the line out. And literally 5 minutes into the game, the other guy who jumped in the line out got a red card. And one of the players said to me, you've got to jump. I was like, I can't jump, I'm in too much pain. And for about 4 or 5 days after, my guts were so bad, my stomach was in so much pain. And I think by taking CBD, you don't have that. You don't have that risk of the gut health. I've played with players who have had stomach ulcers from taking too much medical anti-inflammatories as well. So I think that's a big thing. And the relation these days about gut health and mental health is another massive thing. They say that our gut is our second brain. So that's another benefit of taking CBD. You get the pain relief. It doesn't affect the gut. So that's a massive help. Reducing inflammation is also another thing. Obviously, sports people got inflammation all the time after training or after a slight injury or after a game. That's a big thing. Another huge benefit of CBD is sleep, which every athlete knows is one of the most effective things to achieve gains in our performance. And on top of that, it's beneficial just for day-to-day people working in an office, or people just going about their daily job. Getting a good quality of sleep makes you more focused and just prepares you better for the day. And I know that there's research at the moment going into CBD about the effects it can help on concussion. So that's a massive topic going forward, especially with the relevancy to that in rugby at the moment, with the court cases going against players with concussion problems. So hopefully that's a big thing going forward, where they will find more information that it can help concussion. So I think the benefits are there are huge. It's like, why is it such a stigma to take this product? Why is it so frowned upon in elite sport and not pushed more? So there's huge benefits to it.
Yeah. I don't know if do you want to talk a bit about Huge Gorilla and sort of how you
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So how did you sort of translate that into a kind of a good experience with CBD to launch your own company with your brother?
So, as discussed about all the questions, you've sort of got an idea. I've had a fair few injuries and had to recover from a few, and the body's been pretty battered. That my whole career, I was always sort of looking for that alternative. I stopped taking the medical drugs because as I said, I wasn't addicted, but I was aware that I was too reliant on them. I was getting stomach pains, and I just felt like, okay, enough's enough. I need to find a better solution. And throughout my whole career, I've always been searching for those better solutions, more natural solutions, acupuncture, vitamins, minerals, and my whole career I've had that sort of sense to create something that is natural but also aids performance, and it's very open. There's a lot of companies on the market, a lot of supplement companies out there that claim to give great results, but you don't really know what's in them. And as a sports person, I probably know more so than what's in them, but the average gym goer or fitness person is completely unaware. So, for example, sucralose, if you take sucralose, it can affect 50% of your gut bacteria. And we've already discussed how gut bacteria is crucial for the mental health. So it's just little things like that. And that's sort of where Huge Gorilla has come from. I've set it up with my brother. A lot of people think Huge Gorilla, big and strong, but there's a bit more to it than that. The huge is obviously, what is your huge? Throughout my career, my huge was work rate, loyalty, honesty. And I think everyone has their own huge, whether it's a huge character or huge passion about things. And that's the huge aspect of Huge Gorilla. And the gorilla part is, I've always had a fascination about gorillas. They're big. They're one of our closest DNA relatives, and they're very loyal. They protect their family. They protect their troop with everything. And that's sort of what I want to create from Huge Gorilla. I want to be able to help, protect, and create a family. And as part of the business, everyone involved has been part of our life journey. We're not going out there and looking for big influencers who just push the product. We're looking for real people with real values who can sort of relate to the general public, to the general person. Yes, it's great to have the perfect body, but a lot of us know to get that perfect, ripped, muscular body, it takes a lot of work, and it's not just the products. And at the same time, going through that journey, there's a lot of mental health issues as well, which is something we really care about. We care about supplying such products as CBD to help the body, but we want to also offer a healthy mind. So we also have a psychologist on board and a nutritionist on board to help give that advice to people along the way. So hopefully it's something new. It's something I'm very passionate about, and the people who are on board are very passionate and they've all had their own issues in life as well, whether it be depression or suicidal tendencies from problems within the life, or finished sports and sort of got lost, or eating disorders or injuries through sports. So it's, as I said, it's real people, and we're a brand that want to be real and offer real products and real things to help people through our experiences as well. Like, as I say, selling CBD, it's not to sell as a product, it's to sell because it's something I believe in.
Yeah, I think it's really refreshing, really refreshing to hear, and a really positive thing for the industry.
Yeah. And just on that as well, we want to build from it as well. So, for example, we've got a parkour runner, a free runner, who is really, we asked him, what's your ambition? And he said, my ambition is to become a coach, to coach parkour. And we said, well, as the business grows, we would love to sort of help build that gym to give you your dreams and to help you achieve what you want to achieve. So as well as that, the profits we make from the business, we want to reinvest into these things to help those people who are growing alongside us. So people who come on our journey, people who we get on board, people who are part of us, we use the profits as well for good to create those opportunities for other people under the Huge Gorilla troop family, as to say.